When I procrastinate, I think of it as a personal failing, a person's flaw, a sign that I didn't have enough willpower, enough discipline, enough grit to be the person I wanted to be. I'd sit down to work, and this immense, invisible force would just push me away from the thing I knew I needed to do. I'd end up scrolling, cleaning, organizing, watching videos, anything but the actual activity. And the whole time, this voice in the back of my head would be screaming at me, calling me lazy. And eventually the guilt will all pile up, and the anxiety will grow, and the task will become even more monstrous. But after fighting this for a while, I finally understood the root cause, and I learned something that changed everything. Procrastination isn't a character flaw. It's a natural protection mechanism that your brain develops. So your brain isn't working against you. It's in its own misguided way. It's trying to protect you. And once you understand why it's trying to protect you like that, you'll start to finally solve the real problem with your procrastination. The real problem is never the task itself. It's never that you don't know how to do it. The problem is always associated with some negative feelings. That's why you feel pressure when you're about to do it. Our brain is designed to seek pleasure and avoid pain. So when it sees that negative feeling, that anxiety, that boredom, that fear of failure, it just views it as a threat. And its primary job as a brain is to keep you safe from threats. So it does what any good bodyguard would do. It's going to distract you. It pulls the fire alarm and escorts you to the nearest, easiest, and most dopamine-rich exit, which for you could be Instagram, Netflix, or the fridge. Well, willpower fails because you're trying to fight a primal protection system with a flimsy modern idea. You're bringing like a knife to a gunfight. The key idea is to not fight your brain, but you want to outsmart it so that you can reassure that the task is not, in fact, a threat. And here's how I learned to do that. So, step 1, I pause and identify. The moment I feel that urge to procrastinate, that itch to check my phone or go make a cup of tea for the 5th time, I don't fight it. I also don't give in. I just pause. I take one deep breath and I ask myself one simple question. What exactly am I trying to avoid feeling right now? This is the most crucial step, and you have to get specific. The answer is never this report. The answer is something like, I'm afraid I'm not smart enough to do a good job, and I'll look stupid. Or, this is so boring and tedious, and I can't face 5 hours of this feeling. Or, I'm overwhelmed because I don't know where to start, and it's already giving me anxiety. And the final one could be, if I try my best and it still fails, then I'll have proof that I'm not good enough. Boom, there it is. Those are all the negative consequences that you associate that activity to. And that's the real monster. That's the feeling my brain is trying to save me from. By simply naming it, you're acknowledging it, and for instance, you're like shining a light on it, and it instantly loses about half its power. It's no longer a vague, terrifying ghost. It's a specific and manageable emotion because you've identified what it is about. Now, step 2, it's the reframe. Now that we know what the feeling is, we can talk back to it. I can reassure my brain. I don't use toxic positivity like, this is going to be amazing, because my brain will immediately call this BS. Instead, I use what I call compassionate realism. You want it to be realistic while still achievable. So if the feeling is the fear of failure, we can say, okay, brain, I hear you. You're scared we'll mess this up. That's a valid fear. But the truth is, an imperfect finished report is 100% better than a perfect unfinished one. So our goal right now isn't perfection, it's completion. You want to complete the task instead of being perfect. If the feeling is overwhelming, I'll say, you're right, this is a big project. It's too big to handle all at once. That's why we're not just going to do the whole thing. We're just going to focus on the absolute smallest first step. This isn't a cheat code. It's also a negotiation with your brain. I'm negotiating with the part of my brain that's terrified and trying to protect me. And I'm acknowledging its concern and then gently explaining the new plan to it. Step 3, the micro commitment. So this section is related to my previous video about micro commitments, where we take tiny steps at a time to achieve a bigger picture. And this section is where the magic happens. My brain is terrified of the huge, scary, and emotionally charged task. So I have to make the task so laughably small, so non-threatening, that my brain can't possibly see it as a threat. I don't say write the report of this blah 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 science work. That's a nightmare. I'll preferably say open the document and write one sentence, or even open the document and write one word. I don't just say, clean the entire garage. I'll say something simpler, more directional, like go put one pair of shoes away. The brilliance of micro commitments is twofold. First, it's almost impossible to say no to. The resistance to writing one sentence is virtually zero. Second, and more importantly, it leverages a fundamental law of physics. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. And starting is always the hardest part for anyone. The micro commitment is a trick to overcome the immense inertia of starting. And almost without failure, once I write that sentence, I think, well, that was easy. I might as well write the next one. Just like that, we've broken the seal, and we've created momentum. The dread and avoidance are replaced by tiny senses of progress, and that tiny spark of progress is the most powerful motivator you can get. Step 4, the environment of focus. We can't rely on my willpower in the moment. I have to set my environment up for success before the resistance hits. This means preemptively removing the easy exits my brain wants to run to. So that's social media, digital distraction. So stuff like putting my phone in another room, using a website blocker on my browser for social media sites, or clearing my desk of everything but one thing I need to work on. Putting on headphones with ambient noise or focus music. Those are all examples of putting away distractions and letting us enter the flow state. By making procrastination more difficult, I make focus the path of least resistance. The final most important piece of this entire system is a fundamental shift in mindset. I had to stop judging myself for procrastinating and start getting curious about it. Every single time I procrastinate now, I see it as a signal. It's not a reason to call myself lazy. It's a flashing red light that says, hey, there's an emotional obstacle here. Let's figure out what it is. Procrastination helps me point directly to my deepest insecurities and fears. And by addressing those, I'm not just getting a task done. I'm also doing deep personal work. I'm building self-trust. I'm proving to myself that I can handle difficult feelings, that I can sit down with discomfort, and that I can move forward even when I'm scared. So it's no longer about fighting myself. It's about understanding myself. It's a process of self-coaching where I gently guide myself through the discomfort and toward the action I know will ultimately make me feel proud and capable of. The goal isn't to never feel the urge to procrastinate again. The urge will always be there. The goal is to build a new, more compassionate, and more effective relationship with that urge. To hear it, understand it, and then kindly and firmly choose to move forward anyway. Do this with one tiny, non-threatening step at a time, and you'll achieve progress in no time.